I can't be the only one that feels like this, but I just feel like the UFC is headed towards a recession, or we're already living in it. I feel like the golden years of the UFC world are finally over, and there's just a lot of things that make me feel like the UFC definitely is not up to par compared to some of the other years that we've been talking about the sport. I've been talking about the sport for like 3 years now, going on year number four. And I think that this year things have been pretty uneventful in my honest opinion. I feel like the biggest thing that we've seen so far this year is Alexander Volkanovski becoming champion once again. But besides that, I mean, can you guys name any other significant event that's gone down in the UFC? Because I can't. I really cannot. I guess Jack Della Maddalena beating Bilal Muhammad could be one, but in my honest opinion, I just don't feel like it's up to par with Alexander Volkanovski becoming champion again. But besides that, there's really not much else going on. There's really not much going on in the UFC right now that have really changed things. I just feel like this year we're already in month number 6 of 2025, and I just feel like things are definitely slowing down for the UFC. You could definitely feel it. Dana White is MIA. You could definitely feel that as well. That his presence in the UFC and MMA definitely affected the company, and it definitely does affect the feel of being a fan in the UFC. Now things could definitely turn around. This month we have a lot of big fights. I mean, we got Marab versus O'Malley. That's an interesting fight, even though that fight should have never taken place in the first place. I think that O'Malley getting a rematch against Marab is definitely not something that has a lot of merit to it, because that was a one-sided fight, and I think that O'Malley definitely should have had a tune-up fight before fighting against Marab and probably get a win before he gets a rematch. In my honest opinion, we got Usman taking on Buckley. I think that's a pretty important fight as well. We got Hill versus Roundtree, and of course we got probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fight of the year. Topuria versus Oliveira, which I think could be great for the UFC. This month is so important for the UFC. You guys have no idea. Topuria versus Oliveira is definitely a fight that could change everything that we're feeling so far right now in the UFC, that we are going through like a little mini recession. Things are definitely down. I think that Topuria versus Oliveira could change this thing. Now, I think that the UFC should get rid of the Apex completely. I feel like that's part of probably another reason why things just feel so ass right now. Is the fact that there's still Apex cards, and a lot of time those Apex cards just have fights that people just aren't interested in. And I feel like the Apex should be getting removed, in my honest opinion. I just feel like there's so much importance with fans being in the stadium whenever fighters fight. I just think that that's really important, because I just feel like that gives momentum to some of the fighters that definitely do deserve to have a little bit more hype behind their name. And how the hell are they supposed to build hype around new talent whenever they're having fights in the Apex? I mean, it's not we're not in the coronavirus era anymore. There's no reason to have the Apex. Or if they do want to have the Apex, why can't they just add like 100 or 200 more seats? In my honest opinion, like, I just feel like having fans react to great moments in fights is very, very important and the lack of fan interaction in the Apex just makes things a lot more stale, honest opinion. But I can't be the only one that feels this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Am I tripping? Am I tripping, or is it true that the UFC right now is definitely in a little recession? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. As always, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.